Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this insightful LinkedIn Live on how integrating robust payment solutions with procure-to-pay software can revolutionize finance for growing enterprises. I'm Alex, and I'll be your host for today's session. Whether you're a finance leader looking to optimize working capital or a procurement professional aiming to streamline payment processes, you're in the right place. Today, we'll explore how P2P and payments integration can help you minimize errors, improve cash flow, and gain full financial visibility, all while supporting the rapid growth of your organization. We have two incredible speakers with us today, both bringing deep expertise in finance, procurement, and business transformation. First, we have Ashish Guchel, Global VP of Business Development at Brex. Ashish has an extensive background in payments, financial technology, and corporate finance, leading strategic initiatives that transform corporate card and spend management platforms for Fortune 500 companies. He has held leadership roles at Meta, Microsoft, and IBM, helping organizations integrate sophisticated treasury management and financial systems on a global scale. His insights today will be invaluable for those looking to enhance payment efficiencies and optimize cash flow management. Joining him is Saurabh Bala, Global Sales Head for Midsize and High Growth Enterprises at GEP Worldwide. With over 20 years in B2B sales, Saurabh has worked with organizations across industries to drive procurement transformation through cloud-based SaaS solutions. His expertise in helping mid-sized companies scale efficiently with P2P automation will give you practical strategies to reduce costs, improve financial control, and unlock greater operational efficiencies. During today's session, we'll cover three key topics: how P2P and payments integration can optimize your finance operations as you scale, strategies for reducing late payments, minimizing errors, and improving cash flow through automation, and how to gain deeper financial insights, identify cost-saving opportunities, and strengthen financial controls. This is a must attend for finance and procurement leaders looking to drive strategic value from their finance operations and prepare their business for the future. So without further ado, let's dive in. First, give us some background on your companies. Saurabh, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Alex. Hey, Ashish, good to meet you again. So, about GEP. GEP is a world-class and world's leading organization to help procurement and supply chain professionals across the globe. Whether you are a Fortune 500 person or you work for high-growth enterprises, GEP helps you overcome your procurement and supply chain challenges. How we do it are three primary areas. We do it through our procurement supply chain consulting. We do it through our managed services to take care of your operation side. And we also have a world-class AI-led unified source-to-pay platform. Over to you, Alex.
All right, and Ashish, will you provide us some background on Brex?
Thanks, Alex. Excited to be here and have this conversation with you and Saurabh. Brex is a all-in-one financial platform built to help companies spend, save, and scale smarter. We combine corporate cards, expense management, and global payments into a single modern solution that streamlines finance operations for businesses of all size. Our platform integrates seamlessly with your ERP, accounting software, and also other business tools, giving finance teams complete control while making life really easier for employees, like providing a touchless expense experience. Thousands of companies like Arm, Anthropic, DoorDash, Coinbase trust Brex to help simplify their finances and gain deeper insights into their spending and give them time back so finance teams and procurement teams can focus time on strategic growth areas for their businesses. Back to you, Alex, and excited for the conversation.
Thank you so much for that background from both of you. Let's kick this conversation off. Saurabh, What are some challenges with procurement processes that you see from your customers?
Right, Alex, and I think I'm personally very excited about this space. I think out of about 20 odd years of my career, majority of has been working with high growth mid-sized companies, right? And at GEP, we are in the middle of procurement transformation journey of many of these fast-paced growing organizations. Right? We have witnessed firsthand challenges some of these companies face in managing their procurement and finance processes. In fact, I was sharing it with someone earlier today. I'll talk about a CFO. I'm started working about a year and a half ago, right? So this is a high growth enterprise, right? Based out of North America. They went through a rapid expansion. They acquired a company. With that acquisition, they expanded into 3 new geographies, right? So from a scale of X, they exponentially grew within the within integrating of that new acquisition they had, right? Now with that, their finance team found themselves drowning into sea of paperwork, juggling multiple systems, and in fact, many of them were legacy systems, right? And struggling to keep up with that increased volume of transaction. They were not used to those money volumes, and they didn't have that much staff to take care of it, right? And I still remember the CFO told me we are losing control on our spending, Saurabh, right? And our procurement process is a mess, and we are constantly dealing with payment delays and error, and I think we need help. Um, and and as we dug deeper, Alex, into that, we uncovered host of issuing plaguing into their P2P process, right? And believe me, they were not unique. Right? Any organization which is high growth organization, most of them come with a similar processes and challenges. Right? Their procurement team was using outdated systems, leading to inefficiency and higher costs. Different departments, and as I said, they acquired companies, so different people, different departments got looped into their overall operations, and they were operating in silos, right, causing inconsistencies of and communication breakdowns. The CFO specifically mentioned not only our employees but our suppliers are frustrated with slow processes, and what was happening was many of them were bypassing their procurement policies, creating compliance risk. Right? On the payment side, the side things weren't great either, and I'm sure Ashish gonna talk about some of his experience. But high processing cost was eating into their margins, right? And as any high growth company, uh, having healthy margin is extremely important for them to reinvest in their growth stories. Suppliers were getting frustrated with late payments. Relationships were strained with them. Right? The finance team was spending countless hours reconciling payments manually, and it was failing. And I think it was becoming a very common scene at their procurement office. And on top of it, there were common issues of spend visibility, low manpower, piling on the existing inefficient procurement system. So and believe me, this is too common. In fact, studies show that 90% of high growth companies face similar challenges with their procurement and finance operations, describing them as manual, complicated, and inefficient. Over to you, Alex.
All right. And so, expanding on that, Ashish, will you let us know some challenges that you've seen with your customers specific to payments?
Yeah, and exactly. Sort of the example of that CFO meeting he had and the challenges he shared. That's exactly what we've seen the GEP Brex partnership solve. And we are right now talking very specifically on virtual cards embedded within GEP's P2P workflow. And like customers that use this or have been talking to us talk about solving problems like payment visibility and tracking. As a procurement or even as a business user, when you raise a POPR, it's so difficult to track the payment status because systems do not talk to each other well. And then if you do not have payment status visible to the user, they'll keep calling the supplier saying, why haven't you shipped the goods and services? And they'll be like, I didn't receive the payment. So it's Payment visibility and tracking is the first big value of or first big problem that we solve. The second big is supplier management complexity. Like when you talk to different suppliers, someone's like a t-shirt vendor and someone's like an aluminum supplier, their expectations from you change drastically. The way you manage them change drastically. The way you onboard them change drastically. And that's why you need a very agile payment system that can work with your P2P system that can onboard these suppliers. The last one is like fraud. There's a lot of fraud when you basically rely on traditional systems like checks and ACH. What we do with payments being very well integrated with GEP is you basically completely eliminate fraud and unauthorized spending. I'll get into cash flow and global payment challenges later, but I think these are three big challenges that are very aligned to what Saurabh shared that we in this partnership solve and are excited to offer to customers.
Okay, thank you both. Um, so going off what you were just saying, all those benefits, how have you solved problems for customers with this integration? Do you want to go deeper into some examples on that?
Yeah, I can. And let me explain what that integration is. This integration is a Brex virtual card within GP's procure to pay or intake to pay workflow. And what it does is every time there is a PR or a PO or an invoice, it creates a virtual card once the procurement team decides that that transaction is eligible for a virtual card. And that what that does is it creates a transaction specific virtual card with customizable spend limits and and merchant restrictions. So that virtual card will only work for that aluminum supplier for that amount. So prevents fraud, creates a very customized payment method for that transaction. What this will also help is with streamlined reconciliation. So when accounting or AP looks at the transaction, they get one virtual card, and that virtual card aligns with the statement with your in your Brex statement and aligns with the PR and PO. So it's fully reconciled from when the transaction happened without requiring any manual reconciliation, which is a big headache for a lot of shared service center and procurement operations team. So complete full line item by line item match to the specific PO. The last one is suppliers are very happy. In today's world where cash costs about 6 to 8% a year, suppliers get paid faster. So you will be able to really enhance your supplier relationship and help improve and then we offer a float so you can also increase your cash flow or working capital because we offer you a credit, supplier gets paid faster. So it's a three-way benefit for everyone involved in this transaction. And then the user gets a benefit that they can real time see I raised a PR, went as a PO, virtual card got issued, it got swiped by the supplier. So they immediately get notified that this has got paid and then can expect the goods and services, whether it's t-shirts or a big consignment of aluminum. They know when exactly this comes to their doorstep. And the last one is while they do all of this, the customer gets rebates from Brex because we make money by getting interchange from MasterCard or Visa. And the customer, we share some of that interchange as rebates to the customer. So AP and procurement teams are really happy that they moved the payment to virtual card, they got additional float, supplier is happy, and they got rebates on top of it. So it's a win-win for everyone involved in that procurement process. I don't know, Saurabh, if you have anything to add, but I tried touching each of the benefits of why this integration makes a lot of sense and the problems that solves in the industry.
No, absolutely, Ashish, and I think you're bang on that. In fact, one of the biggest concern any supplier has is, and in fact, many of the procurement teams and AP people Majority of their day goes in answering their suppliers when they will receive the payment, right? And I think what happens in this whole process is they can actually see what's the status of their payments are, right? They don't need to pick up the phone or keep emailing their AP person, and I think that solves both the end of the spectrum, right? There's a lot of time and efficiency improvement there, right? And I think just adding on what Ashish said, they they of course get a real time visibility, as I mentioned. On all the clients will get real time spending visibility through the different department and supplier. For example, the case study, the example which I gave, now with that distributed centers across different geographies and different business units and supplier, a client can actually manage what the spending limits are depending on the categories, depending on the BUs, depending on the regions, right? Some regions they might want to have different limits than the others without any manual intervention, right? Using GP's P2P platform with Brex card-based payment, I think we can create all these rules and spending limits, right? It also automate the overall reduced number of errors. Whether we like it or not, there is always amount of error which is involved when there are human involved, right? Automating it through GP's P2P system and using Brex payment on top of it, I think we can reduce a lot of these manual human error, and which further improves, of course, your supplier relationship, your payment cycle, etc., and so on, right? Another thing I think we kind of sometimes underestimate is the overall visibility in terms of an artificial intelligence led dashboard. Right? At any point in time, any of the executive in the organization can see what's happening. It's like a control tower in a supply chain term, but any finance AP manager, CFO can look at the categories where the money is going, the payments cycle, what kind of payment terms they have with different suppliers, what kind of rebates they're getting using what Ashish spoke about, using Brex card functionality, and some of those things. And I think that gives a lot of power and simplicity to those procurement and finance organization. And mind it, these are not huge organizations, right? And most of the companies I talk to, they have a couple of people in procurement, couple of people in finance operation, right? So it's anyway a leaner team. And I think with this solution, it becomes a no-brainer that it kind of solves their problem and kind of make their life much easier.
That's
Thank you.
great. Thanks, Saurabh.
Yeah, thank you both for those inputs. So we now understand how awesome this solution is and this integration is. So what's next? What are the next step? What does implementation look like? And how much time does it take? Ashish, we'll start with you.
Yeah, and that's a good question. Let's take a live customer that agreed. So if they are already using GEP, then the 3 steps of implementation are as follows. They first we do a set of analysis with them, which uncovers how much of their current vendor spend can move on virtual card. So we have access to Mastercard's track search and other historical data that helps us or helps us inform the customer that amongst their spend file, which may be, let's assume $200 million or $500 million, about $100 million of spend that goes to a particular vendor can be moved to virtual card because those vendors have historically accepted virtual card for that ticket size. So that's the first thing we do, which is spend analysis. The second thing we do is once we know how much of spend can potentially go on virtual card, we then take it to we then figure out ways to work with the customer to onboard them on Brex with the right amount of credit limit required to process that spend. That also involves us working with the customers on the payment terms, working with the customer on the rebate that they get as a part of the spend commitment they do with us. Once that's done and they're ready to onboard with Brex, then between GP and Brex, it's literally a one-click integration that we have using MasterCard ICCP technology. So we just connect the Brex instance with the GP instance so that whenever they decide to use a virtual card, it creates an API on Brex. And so that's basically the 3 steps. The implementation can go from anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks for smaller, less complex implementation or deployments to we've recently completed a 6 to 8 week kind of deployment where it was complex. It involved multiple subsidiaries, multiple entities, also involved multiple stakeholders at the company. So that's the typical range, Alex. And these are the 3 steps that's involved in the implementation once a prospect or a customer decides to use Brex virtual cards within GEP.
All right, thank you. And also, Ashish, another question. What are some strategies for minimizing errors, reducing late payments, and improving cash flow through automation?
Yeah, let me take it in the reverse order of your question. First, let's
Okay.
talk about cash flow. When we do the spend file analysis, one of the things we see is the existing payment terms of the suppliers. And if you have a really good payment term with a supplier, you shouldn't move that on virtual card because that's not the best way to optimize your cash flow. But we realize that about 30 to 40% of your suppliers are suppliers where your payment terms are like net 15, net sometimes even net 0, sometimes advance. For those kind of customers, I think it's really beneficial to move that spend onto virtual card because you get like a good 30-day statement terms with us, and that helps with cash flow. So that analysis we do in the first step of implementation also tells you how this program can optimize their cash flow. The second question or the second area was around reducing late payments. Here, once you decide to issue virtual cards to a supplier, you provide the control of payment to your supplier. So late payment almost gets eliminated, and any penalty on late payments completely gets eliminated in this virtual card payment. And then the last one is errors, fraud, unauthorized payments completely get eliminated because you're issuing a virtual card per invoice or per PO. So, and that virtual card is locked. If the PO is to uh, Home Depot, for example, then it's a PO for buying, let's assume 100 units of something at, let's assume $1,000 a unit. It's very much restricted to that amount of the PO, the date of the PO plus 15 days, and then restricted to Home Depot. So that completely eliminates any fraud or any unauthorized payment, and thus minimizing any errors. The other error that comes is typically the reconciliation issue where once you see a check payment being made, you see the transaction in your bank statement, and then you keep like going on a witch hunt of what was this payment for, which PO was this, which user was this, which cost center should this be. All of that gets eliminated because here we are doing a virtual card per transaction, and that transaction is fully enriched with the PR, PO, cost center, so that you can easily process it into your GL and the accounting systems.
All right, thank you so much. Saurabh, I'm interested in how people can gain insights into spend patterns, identify cost saving opportunities, and improve financial control through the software. You're on mute.
It always happen. So I think Alex, GP is uniquely positioned there because GP's procurement solution, as we call it, GP Smart, is a unified end-to-end procurement automation software, right? Right from the start of looking into your spend patterns, right, taking that data, normalizing it, cleaning it, then running all your processes through the platform, right? You're running your sourcing events through the platform. You're doing contract management through the platform, then having supplier management through the platform, and then you're ordering your requisitions, your payments, your invoicing, and then invoice reconciliation. everything is done and managed through the platform, right? When you do that, first you have everything available at one place, right? And at any point in time, and I always believe, right, you can change or improve something what you can measure, right? So the whole platform and the analytics of the platform gives you an ability to see what's happening at your organization level, at your BU level, at your category level, at your region level, right? Which regions, which categories, which BUs are doing better than some of the others. So you have all the data available to you on a single dashboard, right? That gives you the visibility on the spend, and then you find the saving opportunities, right? As Ashish spoke about, through Brex, we definitely can find how much of that, what's the propensity of that spend, which can be done through a Brex card. So there is a saving opportunity. Then there are of course inherent saving opportunity which exists in any good global procurement platform like GEP. So there are various examples, and I think and I think there are different opportunities of that spend and saving, right, which can be leveraged through using a GP platform.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Let's get into we've got some questions that have come in from the audience. So we're going to start answering some of those. The first one is, what role do you see automation and AI playing in streamlining payments within your procurement workflows? And where do you think the biggest opportunities for improvement are? So Ashish, I'll turn that one over to you.
Yeah, and I think that's a good question. Thanks, Karen. I think the biggest, again, two things that are being discussed ab nauseam everywhere is, reconciliation using AI, and trust us, that completely is a strong use case. And I'm not going to dive deep into it because we all know that is a very big use case, like completely ensuring that your transaction gets fully reconciled with L2, L3 data from MasterCard to enrich the transaction, as well as to ensuring that it goes right from the swipe or right from the PR to your GL without requiring any manual touch. The second area is also like ensuring tail spend, like uh, the big reason why companies use virtual card with a P2P system is to operationalize, automate tail spend. These small ticket items that is very necessary for the organization, but you don't need to onboard your suppliers or don't need to do the 1099 process for each of these suppliers because it's a one-time small ticket size item. And a lot of AI is used to operationalize and automate tail spend, kind of processing in within and making it very touchless in within the P2P system using virtual cards. But the big area where I'm really excited, there's a lot of work happening between procurement companies and payment companies, is something that was earlier known as supplier enablement. We are calling it supplier intelligence, which is the ability for us to tell your users or tell GP users and admin which suppliers will actually accept virtual card at the time of even creation of the PR. So you create a PR or a PO, you identify 3 vendors that can potentially supply that good and service. And if at that point, I can tell you that of these 3 suppliers, two can accept virtual card, then it unlocks a different level of productivity and automation for the user. And AI just doesn't stop at that. AI can use various data sources and integrate with GEP to tell GEP which supplier can accept a virtual card. But AI can take it one step ahead and this is all in development, so don't expect log into GEP and expect to see this feature. But this is all, log into Brex and expect to see this feature. This is all in development, but really excited. There was this thing that AP teams used to do where yeah, you don't know whether the supplier accepts the payment, then you call the supplier and then convince them to accept payment. And then the supplier says, yeah, do it on this portal, or supplier says, send me an email with a virtual. So all of those things that the AP team used to do manually, I think you can have a supplier intelligence agent that can take care of supplier enablement for virtual cards. It's a definitely a moonshot, easier said than done, because different suppliers have different ways and different maturity of managing their customers. But I think that's an area where we'll see a lot of disruption because it's very manual. I know some of our competitors have just 1,000 people call centers who just call suppliers on behalf of their customers and get them to accept virtual card. That's not scalable, that's not efficient, and that doesn't help anyone in this ecosystem, neither the customer, neither procurement partner, neither the issuer, neither the supplier. And I think this is where I think AI agents will be hugely helpful, and that's an area where we are doing some production pilots, and happy to enroll any of you in that if you are interested in it.
Okay, our next question I think might be a good one for Saurabh. As my organization scales, what are the key capabilities I should be looking for in a P2P and payments integration solution to ensure efficiency, compliance, and cost savings?
Yeah, um, I think one of the primary thing which I would say is this a scalable solution, right? Many times what we see is, and I think one of the challenge we see is many times customers have too many different systems lying there and they don't talk to each other. And end of the day, we need to find a common source to get the data, right? And making sure that that's kind of replicated um, throughout the procurement process, right? So I think first thing will be to have a solution which is kind of through unified. This you can have a sourcing event, you can manage the suppliers, you can run a requisition, you can make sure your payment visibility, everything is done on the same platform. And I think that's something is number one, I would say. We should look for whenever you're looking for a solution like this.
Okay, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you both, Saurabh and Ashish, for joining us and for giving us so much good insight. Um, if you ask questions that were not answered, we will be following up with you directly to make sure your questions are answered. And thank you so much for joining us today for this discussion.